Sorry, not sorry.
In a world of opinions, watered down and weak, there's a signal cutting through. You hear it when they speak. From a place of victory, a place of sweat and might, 3 Olympic legends turning on the light. Got the gold medalist, Herb on the mic. His logic hits you faster than a turning sidekick. Got one with the silver, the master of the art, breaking down the strategy, tearing it apart. And TJ with the bronze, the voice of the real, telling you exactly how the athletes feel. Crank it up, it's Warehouse 15, the hottest take you've ever seen. They call the shots, they drop the truth. It's a verbal blitz, you see. Yeah, they're stepping in the ring and they're not pulling any punches. Sorry, not sorry, that's their guarantee. Sorry, not sorry, for the love of TKD.
It is that time again. We're coming to you from beautiful California, where the world is getting ready to wake up and start. And then we've got Mr. Miami himself, Juan, Coach Juan. And then we got, as always, Bronze TJ. Today he has changed and opted out of his blue shirt for some sort of pastel-y. What is that? Fast
It's a
camp?
badass shirt right there.
That's a nice shirt. Well, welcome to the Warehouse
Come on.
15.
That's a nice shirt.
And as we say, sorry, not sorry, especially for TJ's shirt. Welcome, gentlemen. Mr. Coach Moreno, what's going on today?
Hold up, man. You disrespected my shirt over there, Perez. You know, they keep gobbling up those
Do you
chips
know
or nuts
why?
or
I
whatever
don't
you're
have one.
eating.
I had to wear this.
Oh my gosh, man. Look at this. What is that? Where'd you get that at the thrift store? He
No, it
bought
was
that
one of those,
shit up.
honestly, it was one of those things I sent to Fiverr. And I said, can you make me a logo? And they came up with this. I said, okay, you're fired. But anyway,
And then you put it on a shirt. Got it.
I got to do something with it. I
No,
paid for it.
no, I'm good. I'm just here. Just actually, I got to travel tomorrow. I think you got to travel tomorrow too, TJ. I got to travel tomorrow, so just getting ready for that. But excited. We've been talking a little bit off air and stuff like that. I think it's kind of cool that we're trying to branch out to some interesting topics and stuff like that. Trying to give some of our ideas. So I came up with a bunch, and some of them kind of run together today, but at the same time, if we have to break them off and talk a little bit longer at another date, I think that'd be cool too. But yeah, always happy to be here with you guys. And yeah, that's it. Drinking my espresso.
And we got Bronze
Oh,
TJ.
hold
What's
up,
up
hold
today?
up,
Oh,
hold
wait,
up.
hold on.
TJ, you got to talk about with the Crawford thing, the hashtag on Crawford.
Oh yeah. No, there was this thing on I think it was Instagram or Facebook. It was some video of Terrence Crawford, but at the bottom he was saying how he is and stuff like that, and then the hashtag was sorry, not sorry. So
Oh,
I sent it to
really?
Coach Ryan. I thought it was funny.
Yo,
Yeah.
we coming up in the world.
Imagine.
Sounds
No,
like a copyright violation.
I said that this one gentleman I know just got tested for a black belt or 60-degree black belt. I said congratulations, and he's like, "Thank you so much, Master Moreno." And then he's like, hashtag sorry not sorry. I'm like, this is so funny, man. I love it. I
Gotta get
love it.
these shirts going. Gotta get these shirts
I
going.
got it. I got it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna
Gave
do it.
your,
I'm gonna do it.
it was so hard to get it off the athletic. I just wanted to give
I'm
you
gonna do
feedback.
it.
I don't know if it's worth anything. All right.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Sherry.
Anyways, like he said, I'm here in North Carolina. Beautiful North Carolina, North Kakalaki.
North
Where only the
Kakalaki.
famous people
North
live.
what?
Only famous
North what?
North Kakalaki, where only the famous people live. Some of the best individuals I know
How do
live
you
in North
spell
Carolina.
that? Kakal?
Kakalaka.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Kakalaka. But like you said, I'll be traveling this weekend. I get to go to New York this weekend to Grandmaster Sud's place, High Performance Martial Arts. Do a seminar out there with those guys Saturday and Sunday. So looking forward to seeing everyone out there. And
New
then
York.
No,
New
no, seriously.
York.
Can you spell?
pretty much for the
Can you
weekend.
spell? Yeah,
Kakalaki?
or is that some sort of ebonics?
That's definitely Ebonics or a
Definitely.
made up word.
It's a
It's not
made-up word.
actually where I live. I live in North Carolina.
Not kakalaki. All right.
Hey,
Okay.
before we start, hey, TJ, I know again. I think we talked about it a little bit last time that you were officially named the director of the AAU trip for the national team this year. Going to where you guys going to Croatia?
Croatia Open.
So you're the
G1 Croatia Open.
You're a director of that. I noticed AAU. I know you were joking last time. There's a lot of Asian on there, but I also saw the USAT I don't know if they put out their staff for the World Championships or somebody else did. Or somebody put like 4 or 5 different people, but I don't know. I'll throw it out there. I'm going to put the AU staff up against them. I think you guys got a pretty good staff, and you know, I don't. We're going to get into some pretty cool topics today. But one thing I'm going to say about that once again, because I've kind of chimed in here and there about national team staffs. I'm just curious again, because when I look at the lack of experience of people that are on this trip, like I just wonder how they get there, because they keep talking about merit. They keep talking about whatever. There's one guy that from South Florida here. I like him a lot. He's a nice guy. I've talked about his son before, how much I think how cool I think it is that he's doing well, and I think he actually has a chance to medal at the World Championships. But I just question, like, how does that dad slash coach get on the staff when there's other coaches that have like 2 people on the team and have done it for many years, and they don't get an invite. It's a little strange to me. I don't know. I don't know about that. It's one of these things again. If I guess maybe it's who versus what or who what you've done for the sport. When I see this again, this program has 2 people on the national team right now, and they've been very successful in the cadet and junior level and in the senior level. They had a Pan American Games person, blah blah blah. So they're not new to the game. They've been doing it for a while, and they don't get a sniff on the national program when they got 2 athletes going to the Worlds. It's a little weird for me. Again, no offense, because like I said, I like the gentleman a lot. But if I'm being real, if I'm keeping it 100, what's right is right. These other coaches should be there. So, I mean, that's exactly what AAU did, right? Whoever had people on the national team, they brought these coaches on the trip. So, but congratulations.
Thank you. No, I don't know. Like I said, I always tell you, I'm used to it. I mean, like you said, there's no knock on anyone. It's just always a call for transparency, a call for how and what and why, and But there's usually no explanation to follow that. It just kind of happens, and people rotate in and out depending on who that person is at the moment. But like I said, like you said, I think it's a huge benefit to him as far as like being there with his son at the World Championship, if he's coaching his son at the World Championship. So that puts him in a little bit of a better pocket, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all know that nowadays you can have many coaches, and even if you offer, you present people the opportunity to be there as part of the delegation and maybe coach your individual athletes, as long as they follow certain protocol and all that kind of stuff. I get all that stuff. Why not? Why not? I mean, do the best for the athletes, But again, my point is, it's weird when you do it for one, but you don't do it for somebody else that has multiple people on the team. That part doesn't add up. Like you said, transparency part of that is a little awkward for me. I don't know, here or there. But nevertheless, let's get into it. So I came up with a bunch of topics, and I thought we start, we were talking about athlete development. I think we got into a little bit of program development, but I was thinking about like great coaches, and more specifically the mentors that they've had, and is it important to have a lineage of coaching mentors for someone to be successful? Because I'm going to put it out there right away. When I look at professional sports, even I use the NFL because to me that's one of the most competitive sports you can look at, because of the amount of games, the limited amount of people, the limited amount of teams, and it's just so condensed where so much is riding almost all the time. But when I see some of the successful coaches, they all come from a coaching tree, and not all of them work. I mean, some of them are great coordinators that get their chance and don't pan out. But the ones that, when I'm looking around, the ones that are successful, I don't know any of them that did it by themselves. Like zero. I don't know anyone that's so unique that they just came from their own tree. They started and went down. It just seems like they all came from somewhere, and that person ahead of them wasn't a nobody. He was a somebody and really successful. I wanted to get your guys' initial thoughts on that. What do you think about what we talked about, what makes a great coach, but is it important that the lineage, not important, but do you see it as a factor? Maybe that. I don't know if I'm explaining that right.
I'll start first. I definitely think so. I mean, I think I was talking to you last week at some point about how like the NFL still, no matter how many years deep the athletes on their team are always connected back to their colleges. They went to Penn State University, they went to Notre Dame University, they went to these universities. I think that's kind of like the NFL's way of connecting the lineage back with the players, which came from the coaches. And I think that stuff's important because you know how it goes. You're pulling players from a certain organization because of the things they've learned from the coaches they work with. But from the coaches aspect, for sure. I mean, even for me, I only can talk from experience from my side of it. I mean, like I think I've said since the very first podcast, I've been able to be around some of the best coaches in the world and be in a room with them as they conducted their team, as they traveled with team, as they disciplined people, as they rewarded people, as they put their drills into place. And I think that kind of all lines up and puts you in a position to kind of do great things for other people. I know we always try to recreate the wheel with new coaches and new drills and changing the source, but I think the culture is what's important from the coaching lineage that you get. The culture of what the sport is and where it came from and what are the most important parts of the development of it.
There's no doubt that, well, there's no doubt, there's a couple of things. There's no doubt that coaches come from anywhere. And there's also no doubt that good coaches can come from anywhere, but they're outliers. So that's a
Yes.
person who's done the work, somebody who's studied their craft, and they've done it by themselves in a closet with tape or something of that nature. Good coaches can come from anywhere, but great coaches usually come from a lineage of great coaches. So I'll give you one example. So the most successful coach in the history of the sport of Taekwondo is from Korea. Um, and he came from the most successful coach in the history of the sport before him. So Ko Min was the computer coach. They called him because of the way he saw the game and how he envisioned it. Kim Se-yuk was his direct student. And as a result, if you look at Kim Se-yuk's lineage and Ko Min's lineage and the people that have come from Ko Min, you see only excellence. They understand the game differently and better because they were coached by, trained by. Same thing goes with competition. So, and this is not a comment on me or anyone else in the world, but my competition lineage came from a Korean national champion, then an American national champion, and then obviously my record is what my record is. So I have at least had to step up to become better at my sport because of who I trained with and what I did. I made an effort to become a better coach. And then I think we could think of some other coaches. It would be interesting to have the conversation about I don't want to, I mean, we'll talk obviously about the current coaches, but some of the coaches we think are good and where they came from. So Ireneo Fargas, for example, he was one of the first non-Koreans to have sustained competitive excellence across a broad swath of the sport in different countries. Juan Moreno, Brazil, um, obviously America, Mexico, and the basement in his house in Miami with the Guatemalans and that aren't being deported in St. Salvador as El Salvadorian prisons. So your lineage is clear as well. One of those was a joke, so you forgot which piece.
No, listen, I like that you use the word outlier because I think that's a problem right now. Everybody wants to try to become that outlier instead of looking for there's nothing wrong with having a mentor. Sometimes it happens naturally, but I don't think there's any mistake, looking at successful athletes. They come from successful programs. Successful coaches provide, build successful coaches, and it's not an easy thing to do. But I mean, there's no surprise that, like you said, I'm talking about that Korean lineage. I mean, I looked at you mentioned Aaron Fargas. Let's talk about him. You look at Juan Ramos, came from his program. You look at Rosendo, came from his program. You looked at Brigitte, came from his program. You have three of the most prolific coaches in Europe came directly from his program. And that's not even to talk about when he went to France, and that's just from Spain. That's not talk about when he went to Mexico. So you see it and you see, his handprints all over the place. But you mentioned something. You said, these people that are in it right now. That's, TJ, you'll understand this. That's a Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins, right? This hot name coach, and he comes and he's had three abysmal years here in Miami. You see this a lot. These people just try to come out and they try to be different and unique and quirky and come up with a new mousetrap versus what's proven over and over and over again. I'm not saying stop trying to be innovative. We'll talk about that later. But some things work and some things don't. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I think there's a reason why there's an Andy Reid, an old coach. I think we talked about this a little bit last time. So I don't know. I I think that
I think when you're trying to be so innovative at the cost of, I don't want to use the word tradition, or I
yeah,
would say the basics of the things that
fundamentals.
work consistently, for the fundamentals that work for every other person in the world, that kind of gets you that point of being having the constrained excellence and all that stuff like that. Sustained excellence and everything like that.
I'm going to say something. We can kind of wrap this one up because I know it's a difficult topic to talk about. But this was pure luck. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast and I listened to Mark Kerr. I didn't realize even who Mark Kerr was. It's that new movie that just came out, The Smashing Machine, that The Rock is doing. So I listened
Mm-hmm.
to this podcast first and I just heard him as the guy right now. And then after I listened to it, I was like, wow, this is interesting. So then I went back and watched the real documentary. So it's cool to see all this stuff. Now I'm curious to see the movie. But one thing this dude kept on talking about, because he was a great wrestler. He was a very good MMA fighter early on. He turned into a lot of substance abuse problems, stuff like that. But one thing he kept on saying was foundational. Everything in the world is foundational. Whether it's in wrestling, you have to have foundational principles of shooting like this and doing like this, but all the other little intricate things are unique to yourself. But there's a foundation of a way to do something. There's a foundation of a way to build a house. There's a foundation of how to become educated. And then, of course, there's little nuances here and there. And when I heard him say that, I'm like, that's to your point, TJ. There's some things that are just right. Some things that will stand the test of time, conditioning, basics, uh, fundamental ideas of concepts of how to fight. Something comes here, you get here. Something comes here, you. These are not going away. But I think the best mentors, the best coaches, never stray from those principles. Their foundational elements are just. I don't even want to say they're unique. They're just core values, and that's why they're good. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to, especially when it comes to just like coaching or developing. I guess that's where I am now, like developing and working with my guys in my gym and getting them things like. Sometimes we'll do drills, and I try to spend very little time doing the unique stuff, the tricky stuff, the changing stuff, because some kids can do it, some kids can't. I don't think you can build an entire system off of that. I think if that's our goal, then we're screwed, because it takes away from their development. And once, again, like you said, once the game changes, if and when it changes back to something different, we're not able to adjust or change to that, because we're so drowned in the this could work, this could work, as opposed to what will work 95% of the time. What changes the match 95% of the time.
I'm going to give you guys both a compliment, TJ. I've always loved, because you know how important it is to me, how you never skip motion and movement. How you just believe that in your heart that that's one of the core things as a fighter needs to have. And I love that you never strayed from that. Young, I went to your school. I know that Olympic sparring is not the focus, but I told you, I don't have to blow smoke up your ass. I told you the way your kids kick, the way your kids move, their fundamentals are very good. And if they so chose to transition into Olympic sparring on a real serious level, they would be fine because of their fundamentals. And I'm not saying that just to blow you guys up, but I truly believe that when I've gone to both your places. So that's what I love about your fundamental. And I've been to other places. You know me, I travel all the time, and I get to people, and they go, "Oh, watch this guy," and they do all this stuff, and I'm like, pretty good, but they can't move. They don't have balance, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not interested. So that's that's being honest. That's being real.
Appreciate the kind words. I think we have to remember, um, and I did this, and you did it when we were training. We all did it when we were training. There is the core athleticism, agility, and understanding of the sport as it functions that you have to have in order to function in the sport. Then there are the things that you can add to it that are unique to you or unique to the game that you can do to score. So even talking about the modern game, if you do all the core values of what it takes to understand the sport, how empty and full space works, in the words of Dr. Kapner, you understand how technique works, how distance works, how those fundamentals work, and you practice those, then you will have the raw physical skills and the talent and the ability to manifest it no matter what you choose to do, that's additional to that. So if you want to lift your front leg up and do whatever you want to do with your front leg, you'll have the balance, the power, and the understanding the concept of distance, speed, and how the pieces fit together. So I think that you're better served if you're coaching and you're teaching with that understanding and working from that starting place as opposed to doing it the reverse way, which is, let me take a ballet dancer and teach them how to do this thing that I do, and then they can actually win because that's possible, right? You can take a ballet dancer who's incredibly flexible, has reverse stretch. I'm not talking about 180. I'm talking about, negative, and let them leave their leg up there and they can and then teach them how to, because they can already do it, move with their bottom foot, and then teach them the fundamental tricks of the sport. That'll only get them so far. And so I think that's a good observation. It dovetails into, you know, as far as the conversation as coaches go, and where good coaches come from, and where great coaches come from. There's a whole other aspect of the technical understanding of how to coach, and then the other aspects of coaching is how to get your message across. So watching those coaching styles, understanding the game. I think we've been talking mostly about good coaches come from being able to come from a place where they were explain the fundamentals of the game in such a way that it translates into their coaching. So they understood how it worked, why it worked. And when you understand how, it's like a chess master. If you understand chess, you understand it in a different way than I understand chess, because I don't understand. I play chess, but I don't think at that level. But if you truly play chess, you're playing a different game.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I'll wrap that up. I think that's well said, and I think again, these new age coaches that just come up with these ideas and they skip these fundamentals. You could tell they have no lineage. You could tell they have no ideas of what really makes a great combat sport athlete, and so you could tell their lineage is weak, and they're watching what's on YouTube and they're just trying to piece it together, and they can talk the talk and they can kind of act like it, but long term they're not going to produce anything. And we talked about programs and stuff like that last week with UTJ, and I think that's where these coaches, their emptiness kind of shows. Which let me transition into this, because we talk about coaches, we talk about athlete development. What's the true? I mean, this is a loaded question. What would you guys say the true goal is in combat sports? And I know, Young, you're going to say, our sport is not real combative anymore. But let's say it is. Let's go individually. Let's not say holistically. TJ, you go into the ring with as an individual or as an athlete. What is your goal? What's your objective? Ultimate, like best case scenario.
Any particular match, correct? Just like in general, I walk into the ring, I'm going to compete.
Yeah.
Probably to figure out the person's motives and kind of control them. I think it was a lot for me was understanding, like when it came to understanding of fighting that way, almost trying to break their will a little bit. Because when you break someone's will, everything opens up. And I know that looks a little different these days, but we watched it from the beginning when you could run up 30 points. Think about back in the day when GB, before we went to the round by round, and they'd come back and they're up by 17, 18, 19 points. That's a tough place to get someone, but they were just breaking people's wills to fight. And they know, okay, I got to try to fight out this hole. So I would think my goal would be to break their will and make them question everything they know.
Yo.
I mean, I come from a different place just because of the nature of the individual I was. So I never worried about my opponent. What I worried about was what could I do in the ring to the individual that faced me at that moment so that the next person feared for their life, and that the person that I just finished fighting quit the sport. So when I fought with people, that's the way I looked at it. And I was very similar to Patrice in that sense. Patrice had a thing where he would talk about it and he'd say, I didn't go in there to win matches, I went in there to kill people. And Sifu Vizio, who I've talked about before, his thing was anytime I fought somebody, I'd say, oh yeah, I got another match coming. He goes, against who? I said, well, the guy I fought 3 weeks ago. He goes, he's coming back? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, then you didn't do your job right. He said, when I fought somebody, I think in his entire career, he only fought one guy twice. And the reason he fought that guy twice was he lost to the guy the first match, Cliff Thomas. And the guy, He got elbowed in the face and a broken jaw, and then he went back and beat the guy and knocked him out. That's the only time I think he ever fought anyone twice. Nobody ever came back to fight him. And so that was more
I,
my mentality of, and I'll leave one other, I think it's worth mentioning Steve Kapner's way of looking at this. While he had my sensibilities, his thing was my job in the ring, and this is where he'd always be frustrated with me. He says, my job in the ring is to show the beauty of the sport. In other words, if I can do something, why not do it? So if I can do a double kick instead of this, why can't I should do that? And so he would use the full palette available to him. And that's what he felt like his job was.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's interesting because I know it's a game nowadays, and we're trying to, put up points, and sometimes people say, yeah, I'm trying to, put as many points on there. But I would have to agree with you, TJ, and that kind of maybe a little bit sideways with you, Young, is that for me, I just believe that if you could break somebody's will, their rational thought or reason to being in the ring to fight, um, you own them. I mean, and that's a very barbaric, mean, tough thing to say, and very difficult thing to do nowadays because the way the fight is. But for me, I think in my ultimate goal, and even in the ultimate mindset of athletes, you should instill in them that you're trying to break somebody's will. It's not even like if it, sometimes it could be self mastery. Like I just want to be beautiful technique and fast and strong. But I think if you could just again take their ability or reason to be in that ring, woo, it's over, right? I mean, they lost before they got in there.
Think about Patrice, right? Like, and I always use Patrice because
Yeah,
as good as some people were, when you went in to fight Patrice, you weren't worried about winning a match. You were worried about not getting knocked out. Like you hoped to survive the match. You didn't go in to try to win that match. You tried to get out of the ring alive. And I think that's, like as we all get older, our stories get better and what people say about us get
yeah,
better. But I knocked out one guy in every tournament. So if you were in that arena, you were in a place where you were like, I hope it's not me. And
yeah,
I mean, people fought us differently because they knew that that reality was there that you could be knocked out. And so they didn't like, I fought Korea a bunch, and Korea didn't fight me the way it fought everyone else. And I take that as a compliment because it wasn't about the knockout thing, but they knew I could fight. So I think that when you set the tone, when you have a
right.
match, then that's what happens. And that was the one thing that I wasn't the I don't ever feel like I was the best technical fighter, but you didn't come in the ring. You were worried about getting hit by me. You weren't
You know,
and you
you weren't worried about
and you
losing a
know it's
point.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it's coming. You know it's gonna happen. I think one thing we used to have in my bag or in my generation when I was competing a little bit more was that sense of unknowing. Like people didn't know everything about you. People didn't know when you were injured. People didn't know if you were a happy guy. Everyone tells me I was the meanest person in the world in the Holden area. I've heard this story. I don't remember being that mean in the Holden. I remember minding my business and just getting ready for my match. But to everyone else around me, they tell me, "Oh, you were mean in the Holden, or you were this in the Holden, or you did this." And maybe that was the vibe I gave off, and that's the vibe I needed because they were paying attention and clearly I was focused. So
right. No, listen,
you know,
I think also obviously, you know, if you ask me as a we all have different things in our life, but if you're asking me as a competitor, as a fighter, if I would rather have been, feared or respected, 100% it's feared. I'd much rather have you fear me because I think it lasts a lot longer. If you respect me, you'll stand in there and try to exchange with me. But if you fear me, you don't want to do anything. I kind of break your will. But I also think it's important that you're intelligent enough to be like, all right, I'm not going to break this guy's will. And because not everybody's will is easily broken. Some people you could take their body. You could bang their body up. You see it a lot in MMA where guys just don't quit and the referees have to wave it off. Or, you heard Khabib tap, tap. I don't want to break your arm. And like the referee has to step in and do it because these guys are so strong or so tough that you know, somebody has to save them from themselves. And I think as fighters, sometimes you get that dude. I mean, I get a Herb Perez, I get a Terrence Jennings, and they're equal to me mentality wise, and I'm not going to break them. So I have to kind of, how do I transition into taking away what they do technically or imposing my dominance of skill on them? So I think there's obviously a balance, but I just think it's interesting because again, I was listening to some another fighting podcast, and they kept on bringing that. You nailed it, TJ. They said, I want to take the other guy's will. I want to break his will, even if I can't get his body. I'm gonna get his will. I'm like, wow, it was very barbaric, and I don't think that can you, TJ, in our world right now, do you know anybody? Can you name any one fighter that you can say, dude, he's going out there to mess you up? Young, do you know
Yeah,
anybody?
not really. No,
No.
I think we're too. I think our sport where it is right now is a little bit too gamified for that. I
Yeah.
guess I get the one thing I get on my guys about a lot of times during training is we'll be doing a drill, whatever. Let's just say regular fighting drills, and we consistent like you're consistently scoring something. Like there's something this guy can't deal with in front of you, and they have this eagerness to change and do something different. I'm like, why would you ever, if he can't deal with this, I'm not gonna change. And I think that goes into identifying someone's weakness or what they're bad at, and like being willing enough to stay there. Don't You're not fighting for the crowd, you're not fighting for the people. It's like I know you don't like this. I know you can't handle this, and until you figure that out, I'm gonna stay right here and make you deal with it.
That's like
So
a
I think
vicious
we've gotten away.
mindset. That's like a being like almost like a vicious mindset. Like you don't like it, you don't like it. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I mean, man, that's you say that, and I can close my eyes and just see my past and people that used to fight. I'm like, dude, there's nothing they can do about it, and you're gonna keep getting hit with it. That's cool. That's a great comment.
Hmm.
That's a great comment.
Yeah, and that's exploiting their weakness a little bit and their insecurities. So everybody knows what they don't like. And the moment you start feeding that to them, they don't like, and that's when they go away faster. Whether it be from, I think that's what we have to get. This game is a little. Obviously, we don't see a lot of amazing big shots, but you watch some guys get walked down, and like maybe they win the first round, they lose the first round, and in the second round they put it on them, and by the third round you're watching a lopsided match. You're just like, holy shit, where'd this guy from the first round come?
Yes.
But but their will's been broken, their coach's will has been broken, their connection with their coach has been severed, and you watch these top guys sometimes fall apart in those situations. But I think that's kind of what's happening and what it looks like in today's taekwondo,
So
or today's
what if I
style.
what if I said this, like, since we're talking about matches and breaking people's will and stuff, is it, ah, man, two questions. Is there such thing as a must-win situation? And is a win a win? People say that a lot, right? A win's a win. Win's a win. Is win always a win?
Yeah,
And is there a
a
must-win
win's
situation?
a win is always a win when it's a must-win situation. We'll take a win and any kind of win in a must-win situation. We'll take it because sometimes it be like that. We gotta muster and fight through those. It be like that, and maybe it's a bad day, but you were able to do it. But saying if a win's a win, no, some wins aren't wins. Some wins are just. And I think again when we switched over to the points and everything like that, and I'll go with Grandmaster Disaster on this one. No one cared about second or third.
Nobody.
It just wasn't even like if you got second, you went home and you were furious.
Furious.
You lost. You lost. That was it. You lost. You didn't matter. You lost. Everyone asked, I lost. I never remember saying I got second. I got third. What happened this weekend? I lost. It don't matter where I lost. I lost.
Yeah, you lost.
Yeah. So I mean, I think like I said, I think a win's a win in tough situations, but every win's not a win for sure.
Go ahead, Young. I can see you. Your wheels are turning, boy.
Yeah, no, for me, it's like, like when we have that kind of conversation, it was just a different mindset. Like, I thought, to just touch on one point before we move on to that is, I think it's interesting that there's no one that neither of you who are very astute and very knowledgeable about the current game can talk about one player, any player that currently fights that has that mentality of like you're afraid of them and they beat people down, right? And so when you talk about wins, and then I just wanted to say that, but on the win thing, you know, a win, if we didn't win first place, we didn't really talk about second and third. I mean, I could, like I've said, I don't have any silver or bronze medals. I think I got a couple of them. I just never took them home. And I didn't talk about it. I didn't put it in the newspaper. I didn't do anything with it. The There were times when you win and your job, and this is one of the frustrations Dr. Kapner had with me, there would be times where I knew I had to get the win. So I wasn't fighting a beautiful game. I was fighting a game to win a game. And so I definitely have had matches where they weren't like amazing matches. Um, and so while they may have been a win on the scoreboard, they weren't a win for me personally because I didn't execute. I was pretty happy with most of my Olympic matches, and the World Cup matches I was extremely happy with because I implemented my plan. And the Pan Am Games, those were big wins, obviously. But there were things that I had great performances and didn't win, and ended up with a bronze. And at the end of the day, if I didn't win, then the tournament as a whole was a failure for me. So I think it's just a mindset, but that's a winner's mindset. So
Yeah.
it's hard to, can you train that? Can you help somebody understand that? I don't know if you guys watch soccer, but there was the Champions Cup on last night. It's between, it must be between some teams in Mexico, or maybe it's just a one off between LA Galaxy and uh, a team from Mexico. And LA Galaxy was winning 1-0, and then the other team put the ball in the net. And then LA Galaxy got the ball in the net again. And actually, the team that got the ball in the net to catch up to Galaxy did it by a penalty. Well, listen, they go into the last 4 minutes of the game, and the team from Mexico scores the final goal like with 10 seconds left because they're just, the coach put in perspective, the coach got thrown out. Then the coach's son got thrown out. They got red card one guy got red card during the halftime conversation. And then his son got thrown out in the middle of the game. And then, we're like 12, but that's the day. And they're pushing the ref, which I'm not a fan of that. But that's how hungry these guys were for a win, right? It's a mentality of winning. And so, just to circle full back to the thing about winning and what does that mean? I think it says a lot about a sport that's supposed to be a martial art, and that's a full contact martial art that used to be a knockout sport, that you can't think of a single player that you're afraid of
Yeah,
or that scares people.
I can't.
It's just too much inconsistency now. I think when I'll go one generation before, I think you knew who all the big guys were, and you kind of could predict the finals just from seeing the brackets. I don't think we're in that era anymore. I just think maybe it's a system thing, maybe it's not. But I mean, I think there's just too much
So
inconsistency. There's so much you're
but
afraid
understand what
of.
you're saying. Either you're saying it's either the game, the system, or the scoring system, or something of that nature. It's one of those things, because in any sport there should be, if the sport is judged fairly and it judged accurately, there should be guys that win pretty much a lot, unless it's swimming, where there are just so many people swimming. It's hard to produce somebody who's going to win multiple Olympic gold medals, and it just doesn't happen anymore. And staying on the U.S. team for a long time is very difficult. So if that is the case, then that would make sense. But what does it say that you can't predict with any certainty? I know when we were on this, just before we got on this meeting and podcast, we were talking about predictions somebody had made for the U.S. team results, and I I can't put any stock in that. Because you can't predict how accurately the system is going to score, how accurately a person's going to understand the system they need to score. And so I think that's an interesting comment, and I think that's somewhere else that we have to think about. What does it say? Do you remember who Uriah Faber was? You guys, anybody remember him?
Yeah, heck yeah.
When
Yes, of
Faber
course.
was fighting, it wasn't and the other cat, the guy from Uzbekistan, wherever he's from, the Khabib, he fought, or Conor McGregor when he was good. Those guys fought, and you knew what the outcome was going to be because the rules worked, and so you knew based on the rules what the highly likelihood was until somebody figured out how to beat the guys that they were going to win. And what does it say that you can't do that now?
I think, listen, I like that. That's a good point, TJ. A must win is a win, when you need that win, right? I get that. But I don't know, because listen, I'm a realist, and I know that at the end of the day, results speak for themselves. But I will say this. I mean, you know, football again, real fast. I mean, the Miami Dolphins beat the Jets 27-20, right? The Jets are the worst team in the NFL. And if you want to say you guys did good, well, they turned the ball over 3 times, and they still had a chance to beat you guys. Like, yeah, you got to win. I get it, but at the same time, I don't think that's I don't think that's a win. If I'm really looking as a coach, I'm like, man, these guys ran the ball for 180 yards on us, and we got by. If I'm a top rated fighter, TJ, you'll know where I'm going with this. And I'm in a match. I'm in a 3 round match against some small Caribbean island because I gave up the first round, had to come back the second round, and then I won the third round. Okay, hats off, a win's a win. But there's no way that you could feel good about that win. There's no way that you build off that win. So in those situations, I'm a realist, and I got to look at my athlete and look at my team and say, we got the W, okay, but that is not good enough. That's not acceptable. I can be honest. We were lucky. The team isn't that good. They're not as well coached. They're not as well trained, and somehow we got out of there. But I think I was leaning more towards Herb Perez, Terrence Jennings, Olympic trials. This is a must-win situation. Like, did you have a must-win
Mm.
situation in your life, Herb? You did because you were in your second Olympic trials. That was a must effing win, right? TJ, I mean, I think in your life you were like, I got 2 times that I'm going to put this as a must win, and if I don't, it's all for nothing. You you're the main man going, and you're at the Olympic Games. You're a must win.
I'll say 3 times then,
Well, no, yeah, I'm not
because
saying.
I
I'm sure you had it
yeah,
many times. You know that you probably put
yeah.
yourself on that line. But my point is, Young, you said silver and bronze medal. I I don't know unless you could find it anywhere in the history of my speaking. I never say I won 2 silver medals. I say I got 2 silver medals. But you ask me, I lost. I lost 2 Olympic Games. I lost. Not happy with it. Not proud of it. I've always said that. I mean, Young, you're joking about not having so. I threw a silver medal away at a Pan Am Championships one time and tried to get people wanted me to go apologize for it. I'm like, that's my medal. I can do what I want with it. I wasn't happy with it. I dropped it in the garbage can. That's that's for me. But I don't know. I don't think a win is a win, and I don't. But I do think there are some must-win situations for individual
I
people.
I used, and it's just me talking. I used to feel like we had three things. It was our Pan Am Games, our the World Championships, and the Olympic Games. And I know we can talk about every all the tournaments, but those are like the three. Like those are the scoreboards now. Those were the scoreboards, and I think we moved closer to the Olympic Games being the scoreboard. I don't know if you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I feel like those two back to back World Championships from Baku to Guadalajara that messed up the World Championship, like the feel for me for some reason.
Yeah.
The fact that they were so close, the fact that turnaround was so quick, I don't know what it was, but I think we've into this realm of competing so much that I think like always, but the Olympic Games is the must win situation. It's the ones that we have to show up for, and you got to put your stamp on it because even about thinking about this year leading into the World Championships, and that's what we're talking about the predictions and everything. I'm not quite sure that any of this stuff was must win for people leading up to this point. You know what I mean? Obviously, the points from the World Championships carry on to next year for the Grand Prix, but I think it's interesting to see. We're going to see a lot of different concepts of what people did with this 2 years lead into that day, those days of competition. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think.
It must-win situation. I Because we talked about this way back. Canelo. I'm just gonna throw it. I was thinking about this. Canelo and Crawford must win for Canelo.
I
Must win.
think he had. I think Canelo had to win. He had like again. Let's get forget the money. Forget how much you've done before. I think go having someone go up a couple weight classes, you being the big guy, you being Canelo, I think it's a 1,000%. Whether people want to keep scoring, I say it doesn't change his legacy. For me, it's a must win. If I was in that situation, I gotta win that fight. I gotta win.
You know what? It's funny. I've actually dove into this a lot recently, and just looking at some stuff. Canelo was an outlier in that weight category. Think about it. He's short. He was a matchup problem
Mm.
for all the big guys. And so when I started looking at it more, I'm like, wait a minute. Crawford was younger than him, taller than him, way longer reach than him, not much lighter than him. I know on paper he moved up 2 weights, but that was like the more and more I thought about it, that was a bad matchup for Canelo. And Canelo had a history of losing to boxers. Like the more and more I looked at it, I'm like, Canelo was silly for taking that match. That had an L all over it. I think he took it.
But he says he always wants the hardest challenges.
Yes,
He said he always wants to fight whoever
true.
is
That's what I'm
whoever.
saying. I think he took that knowing good and well knowing that, but that's why I don't think it was a must win because He has the money. He has the notoriety. I don't think about the world. No one's changed anything. No one's changed their views on him. Think about
Nah,
that.
I would just want to. I guess I don't know must win, but I would really want to freaking win. I'm not saying he didn't want to win, but and again, I know it's hard to talk about boxing because I don't box sometimes, and I always get. I like boxing a lot. I didn't feel his intensity in that fight. I never felt him. Lost one.
Oh, I got him.
Wait, you switched to your voice.
Me.
I don't see anybody's picture.
I see you.
Uh,
We see you.
anyways, okay. I don't know. I feel like I never felt his intensity in that match. Like he never really got after him in those situations that like I thought he could like be a little rougher or go a little bit more. Like never happened, you know.
Well, I mean, I don't know if because he couldn't or this guy was just too good. But again, the more and more I thought about it, that was a matchup problem. That was a big matchup problem. I mean, and I think Canelo was smart too. I'm sorry, Crawford was smart too. He knew that. Like, does Crawford really want to fight Benavidez, who's 8 inches taller or 6 inches taller, and a big? I don't know. I think it was a perfect match for Crawford and a bad matchup for Canelo. That's why I was thinking more and more I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know, was that a must win? I get what you're saying, him being the bigger guy, him holding the belts, him being the A side, but I don't know, man. I thought it
I would
was
just really. I think if I'm him, also, I know what you're saying about all the other stuff. I don't think anything changes in his life. I don't think anything even changes with his. I don't even. I think we stopped talking about this fight in a couple of days. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it is what it is. That's boxing.
yeah.
That's the world. But like, I I would have wanted to see it be. I didn't think it was gonna be that lopsided. I guess that's my point.
Me neither. Me neither. Hey, what do you guys think about? We always talk about dominating, taking people's will, uh, all this stuff. How about some pre-match rituals? Pre-match rituals, like important, not important, silly. Um, what what do you think?
I think important. I mean, I think just for levels of consistency. Maybe it's a certain warm up, maybe it's a certain something, but I think those things kind of put you in the headspace you needed. I mean, that's a little bit more of a general, broader kind of pre-fight ritual thing, but there was definitely things in that kind of brought me back to that moment, and I think I used a lot of those for sure.
I think you have to learn, and I was having this conversation with my son about some certain one of his things. I think you have to understand yourself and you have to develop in yourself habits that create the right environment for you to be successful. And that starts with the way that you warm up. Um, and I learned that again from Sifu Vizio. He says, if you go into the ring and you're not dripping wet, then you haven't warmed up enough to be ready to go into a match. And he wasn't wrong. You don't have time to warm up for your match to get ready. Second, I think it's the way that you eat and you stretch. And, Coach Moreno, you've been around me long enough to see how I warmed up and what I would do before a match. And it was always consistent because I knew that if I did those things, my body and my mind would be in the right place to perform. And if I didn't do those things, the times that I lost, to be honest, there were times that I didn't do those things, either as part of my preparation or as part of my getting ready. And I can think of one particular World Cup in Madrid where I didn't do those things. And I had probably one of the most embarrassing performances I've ever had as an international player. So I think you fully have to build those, understand what they are. And sometimes they are just good luck kind of things. They're not necessarily, I used to, because I won my first national collegiate championship and I was staying at Kevin Padilla's aunt's house and we had Platanos Maduro and some congri. So for the longest time before we fought, I would get some Platanos Maduro and congri as breakfast with eggs. So and for TJ, that's it's black beans with rice.
I know what that is.
I
I lived in Miami for a little bit.
I I I didn't want to
Thank you for the
assume.
translation, though.
I didn't want to assume that you. I know you know what grits were, and stuff like that. But that wasn't
Hey,
a that was
What
that wasn't a racial comment, by the way.
what about you? Grits are amazing. I don't care what you say. What about you, Coach? What about you, Coach?
all I think about is that movie from my cousin Vinny, like how you make grits, the instant ones, no good Southern notes. You don't make no instant grits. I don't know.
I think about ladies, man, where they try to outdo each other. I'll take the pig's feet. But anyway,
No, you know what? Again, I was thinking about this because listen, I was a ritual kind of guy. I had my certain things. I mean, I have rituals when I fly. Things I do before I fly. I have something that I wear. Blah 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 blah. It just makes me feel comfortable. But I think I've also built up a resistance that if something is not there or I don't have it, that that's not going to affect me. I think we all have anxieties before competitions, and we all do something that makes us comfortable. But I think that the champions, when they don't have that, they don't. The sky is falling. The day is not lost, and I think that's a. It's good to have some comfort. It's good to do some things in routine, but not so much that if that routine gets messed up for not your own doing, that you're still able to perform. And I think that I've seen rituals displayed more and more these days. Like I don't know your personal rituals, TJ, but I'm sure you had some. I mean, I know I had mine before I fought, how I trained. You're right, young, what I ate. I've even created some for some of my athletes, my daughter in particular, um, just so that they do certain things that they can kind of like, all right, this is normal. Now I go perform. But I think that the difference between like an average athlete and a great athlete is those whether it's just normal anxieties or pre-ritual anxieties, being able to control them so that they can kind of go and still do their job. Um, because, like I said, we all have them. I was thinking, you know what the two loneliest time of an athlete is? The two loneliest times?
Mm.
I think you're going to love this. The walk to the ring and the walk away from the ring when you lose. Think about that. When you're
Mm.
walking to the ring, it's such a lonely time. It's so like nobody can help you, right? You think about your brain, what's going through as you're walking to that match. It's only you. Your coach can touch you. They can say, "Hey, go," but dude, it's all. And when you lose, not when you win, that's a nice, happy. You're smiling. But when you lose and you walk back, and your coach lets you go by yourself, and you're tying your hogu, and all your teammates are kind of like, "Good, better go to the next match." Dude, think about how
Because
tough that is.
that's that moment you question everything. Whether
And
you want to or not, in that moment you question everything. I mean, if you're doing your job at home, I would say. Because good people lose all the time,
yep,
whatever. But like you question, did you sleep right? Did you eat right? Did you warm up? Did you have your necklace? Did you do this? Did you do that? And like everything is, and then some. I guess the good thing is, I always tell my guys to have a short memory when they win and a short memory when they lose.
good
So
advice.
and like so shortening that time you feel like that is the best case scenario. But like yeah, for sure, definitely walking away after a loss.
That's
Definitely
tough.
walking away after a loss. That's
Yeah.
the especially when the holding area is like across the room. It's a long, long, lonely walk by
It's
yourself.
a it's a
Even when
good.
people are trying to talk to you,
Yeah,
you
listen,
know?
I always say, I mean, when I coach, I say, live point to point, round to round, match to match. I mean, because if you look at the big picture, I got to win 5 matches. Forget that. Try to get this next point, and then do it again, do it again, and do it again. And it's the same thing, because TJ, I have these kids that they lose, and it's over. Like I love that they can let it go, but not so much like we need to reflect on that. So there's that again, like in life, there's a balance. But I was thinking about that, like these guys were talking about it in MMA. They said, think about this: you're in a stage with 30,000 people watching some other guy beat your ass, knock you unconscious, you're wearing tights. You're in there for everyone to watch you get your ass kicked, and then when you lose, you're standing there in some tights and they raise another dude's hand and you gotta do the walk of shame all the way back. And I was like, we're
That's
not
the
that.
beauty of fighting.
Yeah, I love it. But I'm saying
Yeah.
like, you know, that's a very intimate, personal feeling. Of course, we're not in our pajamas, actually close with this new tight fitting stuff that people that we have to wear. Young, I would love to see you wearing that with your big butt, short legs, long ass arms.
They've made him a lot more loose though too.
Look, Tomo could be like this high because he got those damn gorilla arms. He'd be
I would have
like,
knocked a lot of people out because I've been very angry about the outfit.
Men you come on, man. You see Nacho Libre? Men wear stretchy pants.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, the walking, I, there were there were only a few, I was lucky that there were only a few important things that I lost. Um, and one very important one that I remember, the walk and the time and the feeling. Um, and luckily, I had some other performances that were good. But that feeling of knowing that you could have performed better and you didn't perform as well as you could have was was always hard. If that makes any sense.
Stuff. What
Yeah.
about what about
Yeah.
what about? Okay, you got something else? Or DJ?
No. Nothing. No,
What
I don't got anything. Go ahead.
do you think there's any barriers in our sport that we could break? You know me again. I feel bad. I'm a sports dude, so I'm always comparing and stuff. And I was thinking about when people broke the 5 minute mile, nobody could do it. Now everybody does. And I think about this pole vaulter dude that's breaking the world. He's broken like I don't know, like 15 times. He's just crazy. That guy David Goggins that runs 100 miles, a couple times a week. Like people break these barriers all the time. But I'm like, is there any? Is there anything in our sport, any barrier that we could break that which again I think is a scary, sad thing because I don't know. I'm trying to find one. What's the barrier we can break? Maybe stringing wins together. Maybe stringing. There hasn't been anyone to win 3 Olympic gold medals. Nobody. And we've had some dominant people. We had that, the Chinese girl.
When you say barrier that it changes, does it change? You're talking so with barrier that changes something after the fact, like it takes us to another level, or you're just
Yes,
talking about like kind of historical things that need to be broken within the sport?
I think take us to another level. That would be my thing. But yeah, historically, I mean, obviously, Steven Lopez broke the world championship record, but how many? I mean, that's 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, not 20 years ago.
2000, 2009 was the last one.
Yes, because
You just won world championship. Sorry, I
Yeah,
missed it.
yeah, world championship. You're right, 2009. So it wasn't 20 years ago, but
Yeah.
long time ago.
But yeah, that was huge. I don't really know. I'm not. I would say someone has to become extremely famous, but like again, in this world with sports and everything going, especially Olympic side of sports, I think we're always such a small potato on the shelf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not. It's hard to go. We're gonna get to that next point.
Well, I didn't put this in our notes and stuff like that. But what do you think? I was thinking what if I had to say the one thing that can push our sport to that next level, it would be incentive.
Mm.
It has to be financially incentive. It would attract more people to the sport. More people would say, I'll stay a little longer. I'll do a little bit more. I'll professionalize even more. I'll look past the bullshit. I got to go over here. If it's not right, it's not right. I'm going to find the guy that is right. I'm going to find the woman that is right. I'm going to find the program that is right because the incentive is so great. If I win, it takes care of itself. It would attract more people and it would actually professionalize our sport. I don't know. I was thinking about that incentives, because we do it for what? We do it for this, and that's great. Okay, it's self motivation. We do it for the gold medal. I couldn't tell you where my medals are at right now. I haven't looked at it for so long. Um, like, I mean, my family doesn't receive any residual benefits from it. Like, I don't know. I think there was some financial incentive. I think people would actually do more. You know, become more. I think that's the one thing holding us back. And I don't know if that could change. I don't know. I don't know.
What's that number? What's that number or the situation of numbers? Like, is there a certain number or is it a again? Because we can go different. Yeah, is there a number? I'll start there. Is there a number?
I'm gonna tell you this. Young, you were in you were in an era, a short era before me, but when I knew I had money to live every month and not tournament to tournament, that's when I became way more some people that makes them lazy, but for me it gave me security that I knew I could train, I could do whatever I didn't have to worry about the bills, this and that, and so I would think that it would have to be a contract. It's not a one event. It's a contract that gives me the security that I can do this full time professional, not full time at the the Olympic Training Center. When they're giving you uh, training and resources, but where you had something that you could fall back on. Um, that number is going to be different for everybody. You can give someone that has zero and say, "Here's $5,000 a month. Go at it. Good luck." But I think it's got to be a real number for somebody. You know, where,
Yeah,
but again, it's attracting that TJ. So not just getting by, but where someone goes, dude. Like right now, I was just talking to somebody at my gym. The quarterback from Miami is making $8 million a year in high school and college. In college, he's gonna take a pay cut when he goes to the pros. Like that's incentive to play football, man. The lineman, the offensive tackle is getting 700 G's a year. You don't think that guy feels good, feel comfortable? Like I'm going to work every freaking day, and I'm gonna do more. So I think like if I am Camilo Moreno and I say, oh my gosh, I can make $500,000 this year, doing taekwondo. That's her
I
life.
don't think that was there before either, though. So what made you?
And
Because
we
you say
and,
we
and,
talked
and
in
we didn't
cinema.
and
This
we
is
and we haven't grown
that's true.
at all.
That's true. Yeah,
That's
that's true. I think the best. So then the barrier would be, and again, I think we talked about it before, and I always talk about it. We getting into elementary, middle schools, high schools, college, and then have a Olympic level. And so I think that's where it is. It's the popularity overall that's gonna kind of affect everything,
a league.
because football's getting that NIL money because league's the same thing. A professional league that yeah, exactly,
League.
100%.
League. Hey, the UFC got bought because Dana White went to the Ferreira brothers and said these guys are losing money, and for some reason these guys love martial arts. They bought it. Of course, they hemorrhaged money. They had the right guy at the right time. I get all that kind of stuff. But the only thing that turned it into what it is was the UFC brand. They made a league. They made a league. And they did their contender series, which became their farm system. The money was there. The incentive is there. There's some complaining that the low guys make $12,000 a fight. Okay, okay, okay. But the incentive is, can I move up the ladder on the card? A pro league would do that. No national affiliation. If you're the best, you got money. And we probably need some wealthy individual, some Saudi, somebody from Dubai, somebody from that part of the world that said, you know what? I'm gonna have 5 diamond league events a year. Come one, come all, take home $100,000, for I'm being little compared to other professional sports. $100,000 per division. You don't think you see some people
They
bust?
tried that with the Wooksy thing, right? What was it, 30, 50, and 70 when it first started? They were trying to give a lot of money away.
Yeah,
I think it was like whatever Chinese money, but I'm not sure.
no,
Yen
it
or
was 70.
whatever.
No, it was 70 grand. It was 70 grand.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, they reneged on that real quick. Now it's down to like five. If I,
that's funny.
but I don't
That's
know.
funny.
What do you think, Young? I see you over there looking at the daisies.
It's not that. It's just, we did a study on this at the Olympic thing. And if it's sustained money, just like sustained competitive excellence, then I think it makes a difference. But incremental money, meaning if I win this, I get X amount of dollars. By the time you get to the highest levels, you're trying to win no matter what. Like the Spanish guy I fought would have got $1 million had he won a gold medal. He didn't win a gold medal, and it was $1 million had he gotten it. Um, the Koreans get a lifetime salary and a job. The Turkish guys get $500,000. The Taipei guy gets $500,000, and his coach gets $300,000, and they get apartments and houses and stuff. So when you said something interesting, which was about sustain, something that would change your life so you could continue to do what you do, then I think they call that bubble money, and that's when you put people that are in the pipeline that can perform, and you give them money so they can continue to train. I think that's where the money kind of matters, and then you can incentivize them along the way for bigger and better results. But I think the money's better in the early stages, and it allows that talent to continue to prosper without fear of being unable to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I
it
got it.
does. And I listen. I always had this crazy concept of okay, just use Olympic weights. I don't care what you want to call it, but whatever. You say, look, you can have 4 men and 4 alternates. Of course, your A team is your A team, and your B team are getting paid less. They might not fight. You know what I'm saying? They might have to be, and if they're good enough, maybe another team will pick them up. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what you do, and you don't have these huge teams because one team can get all the best fighters. Does it make sense? So you say Coca-Cola, you can get only these 4 fighters. I know you want these other ones, but you can't, right? You can't monopolize it. And Cogas, you can get it. And just you have these a coach and a program, and you got four. It's a small team. It's they make money, and then they win more money when they win things. I think if you do things like that, you don't. Doesn't have to be nationalistic. If I'm in Iran and I want to bring in a Korean and a Russian and a Chinese and an American, that's what you do. No different than Barcelona soccer team. No different than PSG soccer team. Blah blah blah. Go down the list. I think it could be awesome. You're in Mexico and you say, you know what? I'm hiring this Iranian coach. I'm hiring this Korean coach, and I'm bringing him in because he can get the best. The athletes want to fight for this guy. I think something like that, it would take a wealthy person to put these places, these teams in place, set them up. Heck, call it the Miami Marauders and the Shanghai Samurais. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you call it. It doesn't have to be a trade name like the Coca-Cola team or whatever, but I think that would be an interesting concept. So if there's any billionaires out there that would like to do that in Taekwondo, I will be your Dana White.
Grandmaster, pull out your paycheck.
He's the Joe Rogan. He's a commentator talking shit. TJ, you with me? Come on, baby. Come on to the top.
I just want to watch.
Come on to the top.
I just want to watch.
Hey, maybe we get Mr. Don Lewis to give us some of that gold mining stuff that he got in there, boy. He got that Swiss account in Nevada somewhere. He keeping it down on us right now. Don, I love you, man. Come on. Bring that gold. Bring that gold out, baby. Bring that gold out.
Yeah, he put his predictions out for the World Championships too. I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. I can't remember exactly what it said, but he had some, I think, some opinions about the World Championships and Olympic.
But we're gonna take that one. We're gonna leave that one for the next time. I think that'll be an interesting conversation. But as we always do, we say, I don't think this time we really said anything to offend anybody. But if we did, oh well. Sorry, not sorry. This has been the Warehouse 15. Both of these guys are on planes tomorrow. TJ's got to make a stop at the local gendarme to have his ankle bracelet removed. But other than that, he should be okay. Any less?
Later, guys.
All right, boys. Later.
His wig's gonna blow off.
Weekend at Bernie's.